Welcome to Fit Body Bootcamp. This orientation video is to explain how we do things at Fit Body Bootcamp so you're able to do things safely and correctly. We're going to go through some of our basic exercises, explain how we do our workouts, so you're ready to go on day one. We really recommend that you arrive 2 to 5 minutes early to come and stretch out. We do have a designated stretching area for you, so you arrive early. It's really good to see kind of what everybody else is doing, get a feel for the workout for the day. We do lead a warm-up, so when you come in, you're going to kill two birds with one stone. One of our trainers is going to be explaining on the mic, explaining the workout for the day, and then the other trainer is going to be leading you through a progressive warm-up so that you're ready to go when we start. The way our workouts are structured, typically when you come in, every workout is going to be different, so you really have no idea what you're walking into each day. So our trainers will demo that for you and you'll know what you have to do. At each station, so what we have is stations. At each station, there's going to typically be 2 exercises. One group, up to 6 people, will be doing a certain exercise, and then another group will be doing the other exercise. Now the way it works is typically we have 2 sets of each or 3 sets of each. So if there's 2 sets of each, you'll do one exercise, and then in between during your break you'll rotate with the other group and do the other exercise. You'll do that up to 2 to 3 times. At each station you'll notice there is a board, so if you forget what we talked about during the warm-up and during the demo, you can look at the board and it will explain what the workout is for today. Now if you're really lost, what's great about it, you're in a group environment, so somebody next to you most likely knows what they are doing. What we recommend is actually picking a partner for the day and sticking with that person, so when they move, you move. So on day one, you're not going to quite know what you're doing, but you'll get a feel for it. So I recommend picking a partner and sticking with them. Now the way this works, I'm just going to do a quick demonstration of each station, how it would work. Typically on the clock there's 45 seconds on, 12 seconds off. We'll be counting down the stations for you so you'll know how much time you have left, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, for example, today I'm going to give you a kettlebell exercise, and then there might be somebody doing a push-up exercise. So one group, up to 6 people, will be doing the kettlebell exercise, which would be a deadlift. So 6 people would be over here doing their deadlifts, okay, for the 45 seconds, and typically it's 45 seconds on, 12 seconds off. And then the other group, while you're doing that, will be doing push-ups. So other group would be doing push-ups. We'd be here doing push-ups. Now the clock would beep, we'd tell you time, and then you'd switch. You have 12 seconds typically to switch. So whoever was doing push-ups then goes to deadlifts, and then the other people would be doing push-ups. Now you do that for 2 or 3 sets, so up to 6 exercises. Then you'll rotate to the next station, and that's how it works. So then you will rotate in this direction. So after you get done with that, you'll rotate. We'll give you time to get set up for the next exercises, know what you have, look at the whiteboard. So most of the time you'll be doing a TRX exercise, and then typically a body weight exercise or a dumbbell exercise over here. Now when you're done with the TRX and you're done with that, the next station would then be down here with the ropes. So you'd be over here, you'd be doing something on the turf, whether it be with the ropes, and then the other person would be using our jungle gyms. After you're done with that station, after that round, you'd go to your last round, which is typically over here. You do your exercises, and then you would be done. And that's our typical rotation with exercises. At Bootcamp, we have a lot of exercises that we do, but today we're just going to focus on the basic exercises. If you can do these basic exercises, you're going to be able to do pretty much every exercise that we do in Bootcamp. So we're going to go over the basics today. I highly recommend watching the video and actually doing it with us so you can actually feel it out. Now the first exercise that we're going to teach you today is a basic plank. Now with a basic plank, what we want, Mike here is going to get in a plank position. What we want is our elbows stacked underneath our shoulders. We want a nice flat back. So that's your basic plank position. Now a lot of times people get in plank position and they start to struggle. What we see is the butt kind of goes up in the air, okay, and then we're pushing back. Now what happens, as soon as that starts to happen, we start pushing those elbows forward, we start getting the pressure on the elbows, and we can get carpet burn. So if you're doing it correctly, you'll never get carpet burn. If you feel your elbows rubbing, most likely your hips up in the air and your elbows are pushing forward. So you know you're doing it right. The shoulders are stacked right underneath the elbows, and the back is nice and flat. Now, a lot of people start to fatigue, and they try to fight it, and they try to stay up, and that's when the butt comes up. So instead of doing that, just come down to your knees, recover, and then when you feel recovered, go back to plank position. Here we have an advanced plank, and we call them RKC planks. So with the advanced plank, the reason why we're teaching you this now is because a lot of the positions you should finish in should actually be in this position, and it's going to protect your back and protect your spine if you're doing it correctly. So from here, we're going to take your regular plank, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to squeeze our glutes as hard as we can. I tell people, envision that you have a pencil between your butt cheeks, and you got to squeeze as hard as you can to break it. Now from here, he's going to tilt his pelvis down just slightly, and then he's going to flex his quads as hard as he can. We want you envisioning that you're trying to take your quads from your kneecap to your hip, okay? Now everything's engaged on his lower half. Now we're going to engage his back muscles. From here, he's going to really brace his elbows into the ground, and then he's going to pull back using his big, strong lat muscles, and that really, really engages the core. Now, this is the position you want to be in a lot of the exercises, which we'll explain later, but that is an RKC plank. We tell people, you know, you shouldn't be able to hold it more than 20 to 30 seconds if you're doing it correctly. So one of the most basic exercises that we do at boot camp is a squat, and we do a lot of variations of squats, but it starts with doing the squat correctly at first. We do a lot of them, and it's one of the most incorrect exercises a lot of people do. If I were to ask you to sit in a chair at home, most likely you do it correctly, but as soon as I ask you to squat at boot camp, we have some stuff that's done incorrectly. So we're going to thoroughly go through it real quick. When we're squatting, we want an upright posture, so we want our chest out, shoulders back. Now the first action in a squat is actually hinging backwards with our hips. So we want to sit our hips back, and then we're just going to take a seat. So Mike's going to hinge his hips, and then he's just going to sit. Now what we want you to envision, go ahead and stand up. From here, he's going to push through his heels, stand up. We want you to envision that you have a chair behind you and that you have to sit down. So he hinges back, sits down, now he pushes right through his heels. The entire time, all your weight should be in your heels. You should be able to wiggle those toes when you're going. If you can't wiggle your toes and you have pressure forward, you're doing it wrong. Now this is how you do an incorrect squat. What we normally see is we see the knees go forward first, and then they try to sit. That puts all the pressure right there in the front of the knee, and that's going to tear up your knees eventually. So we want you hinging backwards and taking a seat. Hinging backwards and taking a seat, weight through the heels, and then chest is up the entire time. The next leg dominant exercise that we do, and again, done incorrectly, and if we do it incorrectly, can lead to knee problems, is the lunge. We're going to go standard forward lunge and standard backward lunge. Now, when we lunge, again, just like the squat, we want upright body position the entire time. We never want to be slouching. So big chest, shoulders back. You're going to take a big step forward. So take a big step forward, and from there, you're just going to drop straight down, okay? So drop straight down, weights in the heels again, and then push right back. That's your standard forward lunge. So go ahead and give a couple standard forward lunges. So you see he's taking that big step, and he's going straight down. Again, with the squat, a lot of people, when they do it incorrectly, they drive and put the weight through the toe and drive the knee forward. Again, that puts a lot of pressure through the knee. So we want to stay off the toe, put the weight in the heel. So we never want this happening. If you find yourself on the toe, most likely you're doing it wrong, and it's going to hurt your knees. So upright body position, pushing the weight through the heel, and then driving back. Now, if you have knee problems, we do not want you doing the standard forward lunge. Instead, we want you doing a backwards lunge. So when we do the backwards lunge, we're going to take a big step backwards, but again, we're dropping straight down. So the action is dropping straight down. We're letting that knee flex every single time, just straight down. The biggest thing people do wrong now when we do a backwards lunge is they overreach, and then they reach backwards with their upper body and never let their knee just bend down. So take the step, stop, drop straight down, and you will be doing a perfect lunge. All right, next exercise, we have push-ups. Now, everybody's been doing push-ups since PE school. but most likely all of us have been doing it wrong since PE school. So we're going to teach you the proper way to do a push-up today. Mike's going to demo it because he's amazing at doing it. So go ahead and take over, Mike.
All right, so when we get into push-up position, the major thing is keeping our back flat. We want to keep our back extremely flat, hands directly underneath our shoulders. Once we get the back as flat, hands under the shoulders, now my head is traveling in front of my hands, and I come down with my elbows pointing back at a 45-degree angle. Notice my head is out in front of my hands, and I finish. The major problem in push-up position is raising that butt, getting those glutes up, and people try and push up, and they go through the window in their hands. We do not want to see that. Get that weight forward, heads in front of the hands, elbows back at 45.
Now, the other thing that people do wrong with push-ups is they don't keep their core engaged. So when you're doing this, you want to keep your core engaged. So you're literally flexing your ab muscles, squeezing your glutes most of the time, and that's going to keep your core engaged. We know you're doing it wrong if your hips start to dip. So if you do your push-up, and then you kind of find yourself doing one of these numbers, your core is not engaged. If you just flex your glutes, engage your core, and go straight down, you're good to go. Now let's show you a modification to push-ups. If you're not able to do regular push-ups, you're just going to drop down to your knees. Go ahead and explain.
All right, so with a modification push-up, it's the same idea as it from your feet. The key here, keeping that back in a straight line. Same thing, when we come down into our push-up, the head goes out in front of the hands, elbows back at a 45, and we push through to finish. What happens is once we start getting in the modified position, our butts travel up and we get into this table, and people start doing the same thing as from the feet, bringing the glute up and traveling through their hands. So keep that back flat, keep the core engaged, and finish out in front of your hands.
One of the fundamental things that we do at Bootcamp is use TRXs, which are suspension trainers. And what's awesome about TRX is that no matter what level you're at, we can meet you there. So just by changing your body position, we can make it easier or we can make it harder. Now, one of the things with the TRX is the hardest thing to do is actually get our feet in there and get into the position that we need to be in. So we're going to cover that first. So with Mike here, the way we want to get into the TRX when we want to get our feet in, and typically this is when we do more core type exercises. First, we're going to sit on our butts here. Now we're going to take the bottoms of the straps. So we're not grabbing the handles, we're not grabbing up here, we're grabbing the bottoms of the straps. Those are the footholds. Now from there, we're going to lift them up, and we tell people think stinky socks. So if you were to take stinky socks off your feet, this is what you do. Now from here, you're going to go to your back. Do not try to put your feet in, go to your back, and you're going to put them right over top of your toes. Before we transition, you want to make sure your toes are pointed towards you and that they're nice and tight. Now from here, whatever side you decide to go to, if you want to go to your left foot goes down. If you want to go to your right foot goes down. The other foot goes over top. Now from here, he's going to transition to his knees. He's going to get in kneeling position before he tries to do anything. And that's how you get your feet into the footholds. The next position is actually getting our heels in. So we just got our feet in, and typically that's going to be a core or a push-up dominant exercise. Now we're going to get our heels in. And the way we do this is very similar to the last one, but now we're going to push down on the straps. So we're going to push down on the straps, we're going to go to our back, just like we did with the other one. We're going to put both feet in. Now, what you want to do is you want to put pressure down with your feet. Once you have pressure down with your feet, then you can let go with the hands, and you're good to go. The toes are pointed up, and now you're good to go. What we don't want to do is put our fingers down, and then not have pressure on the straps of their feet, and then they just disappear on you. So make sure pressure down with your feet before you let go of them, and you'll be good to go. Some of the most challenging core exercises we do in Bootcamp involves the TRX. Now, for that reason, we have some very simple rules before you get into the TRX. So this is not a beginner exercise. This isn't a day one exercise. It's something you need to work into. So our rule of thumb with the TRX is, you know you're ready for the core exercises that we do in the TRX if you can hold a 45-second plank without going down. So if you can hold a 45-second plank, then you have the core strength necessary to utilize the TRX. If you're not able to do that, then work up to that 45-second plank before you try to even get into the TRX. Now, TRX is advanced core training, so I'll just show you some of the core exercises real quick. So Mike's going to go through a crunch, he's going to go through a pike, and he's going to do a saw, just to show you why you need to be able to do a 45-second plank before you should be doing these exercises. Now for the TRX, some of the basics here. Now let's go into a crunch. So Mike's in perfect push-up position. The hands are underneath the shoulders. So the crunch, we're just going to drive the knees to the chest. You notice he's keeping his hips up. The biggest mistake people make, and a lot of it's due to a lack of core strength, but this is the way that you get hurt if you're using TRX, is when you extend backwards, the lower back starts to dip. Now your spine is doing that, and that puts a lot of pressure on your low back and is not good. So we want to make sure that we're keeping our hips up the entire time. That's why it's important to have the core strength necessary. Now, a more advanced movement is a pike. Now from here, you're looking at your hands. When you come up, the hips are going to go straight up. You're trying to cut yourself in half, and you're looking at your toes. So we're going from our hands to our toes. And again, the biggest mistake is right at the end, people overextend, hyperextend their low back, and that's when we start to get issues. So we don't want to do that. Now let's go into a saw. This is the most advanced core exercise I believe that we do in boot camp. We're going to get in a perfect plank position. Now from here, we're going to drive our feet back to the wall. It really lengthens your core, and it takes incredible core strength to do this correctly. Now again, you notice his hips are staying up, his core is engaged, he's in no trouble whatsoever. When we start to fatigue or we don't have the core strength necessary, we start to see that low back dipping and we get pressure on the spine. So anytime we do this type of exercise, we tell people find your range of motion. So start slow, do a little bit, and then if that's okay, we're going to do a little bit more until you kind of find your sweet spot with the TRX. Now, the next thing with TRX we have a rule for is push-ups. We do some push-up variations or a combination of core with a push-up. My rule and our rule at Bootcamp is you need to be able to do 10 regular push-ups before you even try to do one of the more advanced TRX type push-ups. So we're just going to go to an atomic push-up today, which combines a crunch with a push-up, just so you can get an idea of how it's more advanced. So he's going to go into a crunch, and then he's going to go right into his push-up. So you really need the core strength and the upper body strength necessary to do this type of activity. As I talked about at the beginning of the TRX, what's great about it is by just changing your body position, you can take an exercise and you can make it easier or you can make it harder. When you first start off, I always recommend starting with easy and progressing to harder. As you get more fit and as you're in our facility longer, we recommend starting with hard and then progressing to easy as needed to finish your set. So I'm going to take a basic TRX chest press and show you how to progress it or make it easier and make it harder. Now, with the typical TRX chest press, and this is why we actually taught you a plank and an RKC plank, most of the time you're going to be in that position if you're doing it correctly. Now the rule with TRX is you want to start, you want to be in starting position where you want to finish. And this makes sure that when you finish, you know you're in the right position. So at all times we want the TRX nice and tight, and we want to start where we want to finish. So I'm going to show you a couple basic exercises that we do, and it'll all come together that way. So first one is a TRX chest press. So this is the position I want to finish in. I'm up on my toes, I'm flexing my quads, I'm flexing my glutes, my low back is tight, my back is protected, I'm in an RKC plank position. So we're going to be up on our toes, flex our quads, flex our glutes, and we're going to lower into a chest press. So now, if I wanted to make this easier, I would step forward. Now I'm using less of my body weight, same exact motion, but now it's easier. If I wanted to make it harder, I would step back. I'm still in plank position. I'm still starting where I want to finish. Now I'm using more of my body weight with the exercise. So depending on whether you're a beginner, you might be starting up here. If you're a little bit more advanced, you might be down here. Now day one, make it easy if you're doing this exercise. Now if it's too easy, then progressively make it harder as you go. So that's a chest press. So now the opposite of that would be a TRX row. So I'm going to start in the position I want to finish, which is shoulder blades pinched. I want the TRX bands nice and tight. So the bands need to be tight. You don't want any laxity in the bands. You want them nice and tight the entire time. You are doing it wrong if this becomes loose. So from here, I'm in a plank position. I'm flexing my quads. I'm flexing my glutes. And I am lowering. And I'm keeping that position and I'm pulling in. A lot of people on the first couple of days, they're so worried about doing the exercise, we start seeing the hips go all over the place. They should be engaged. you should be in that plank position the entire time. So we're not moving the hips, they stay still the entire time. Now if I want to progress to make this exercise harder, I move my feet in, but I'm still maintaining that plank position. So now it's harder. Now if it gets too hard, we just back up and make it easier. So on day one, you're going to be more upright. As you get more fit and you need more of a challenge, you're going to lower and make it harder. That's the most beautiful thing about the TRX, is that we can make it as hard as we want or as easy as that we need to make it. One of the staple exercises that we do at boot camp is battling ropes, and they're a great strength and metabolic exercise when done correctly. So when we're doing these exercises, the main position that we're going to be in, it changes every day, but the main position you're actually going to be in is an athletic position, an athletic stance. And that's just a quarter squat and slightly hinged forward. If you can maintain that position, you're going to do the exercise correctly. What we tend to see is people stand up and we arching backwards, but as long as you're in an athletic position, you're going to be good to go. Now, when you see the setup, there's going to be varying ropes. We have the yellow ropes, and they're a little bit longer. They are actually lighter. A lot of people think since they're longer, they're going to be heavier, but they're actually lighter. So on your first couple of days, I highly recommend using the longer, lighter ropes. And then we also have thicker ropes down here, which are shorter. So they're about 10 pounds heavier. So on your first couple of days, you're getting adjusted to boot camp, use the lighter ropes. So we're going to show you how to do the exercises correctly real quick. The two main exercises that we do are alternating and then doubles. So it all starts with that good athletic position, slightly hinged forward. Now from here, he's going to go alternating ropes, and we're just going to go straight up and down. The biggest mistake people make is they don't go straight up and down. They kind of do this swaying backwards, like they're kind of like rowing a boat. So show them kind of rowing the boat. So he's now standing up. He's doing this. We want to be hinged forward the entire time when we're doing it. Now let's go doubles. So doubles right here, a little bit different than the singles. We get a little bit more core engagement. So the hips are actually kind of coming up and down a bit. But as long as you stay in athletic position right here the entire time, you're going to get a great cardiovascular benefit and great strengthening of the core as well. One of the other fundamental exercises that we do in boot camp is we use something called sliders. And they slide back and forth, hence why they're called sliders. Now, they look innocent, they look easy. We even have pink ones, but at the end of the day, they're one of the hardest things that we do in boot camp. And it all starts with the correct foot position. So we're going to show you how to get your feet on the sliders so you can actually do it correctly. The biggest thing is when you come on the sliders, you want your feet right in the center, so the toes are in the center, because now you're going to get in either plank position or push-up position most likely. Your feet are in the center. Now, when you're in this position, you want your toes pushing through the sliders. What you don't want is a lot of the bottom of your feet on the sliders, because as soon as that happens, you notice his hips start to come up, we start rounding our spine, and then we start having issues. So we want to be up on those toes at all times. If you can do that, you're going to do it correctly. Now, the opposite of that is going to be on our heels. So again, we want our heels right in the center again, pushing down, and you're going to be good to go. So if you don't do that and you put a flat foot or you put your feet in a bad position, your feet are going to be in the carpet and they don't slide so well. One of the hardest exercises and the most beneficial exercises we do at boot camp is burpees. So there's definitely the right way to do burpees and there's the wrong way to do burpees. And there's plenty of modifications, so pretty much everybody's able to do a burpee no matter what level they're at. We're going to start with the hardest and then we're going to progress to the easiest and give you a few modifications so that you're all able to do burpees inside of boot camp. Now the first burpee is going to be the hardest. It involves doing a push-up. What we want to do is we're in squat position, hands go down and then feet go back. Okay, we're going to do our push-up. We're going to explode up and back to that squat position. You notice when you land, the feet should be flat. They should be nice and wide, outside shoulder width. We should be almost in a squat position from here. We're going to jump up, touch hands overhead. We're going to go back down. Hands go back down, back to that push-up, and then back up. That's going to be the hardest one to do. Now, a lot of people aren't able to do a full push-up, so they're not able to do that version of the burpee. We're just going to eliminate the push-up. Everything else is the same. Squat position, hands go down, feet go out, and then we're going right back up. Again, feet go out, right back up. Now, for some, that is still too challenging, so we do have a few progressions for it. So we're gonna go, hands go down, we're gonna jump back just like normal, walk the feet forward, and then we're gonna go up. Now, if you're not able to do the jump back, we're just gonna walk back, walk forward. So we're gonna walk back, walk forward, come up, and then if you're able to do a jump, we're gonna do the jump. Now, the biggest thing I want you to focus on with the burpees is when we jump backwards, not hyperextending our back. So show us a perfect jump back real quick. His back is nice and flat. He's in no danger whatsoever. He's good to go. Now, stand up and let's show him how not to do it. So the hyperextension. So we're reaching back, we get really fatigued, the hips drop. Again, we're pinching that lumbar, we're in danger, we don't want to do that. So if you are doing the jump back, make sure we keep nice flat back the entire time. Now, a few other progressions. And that's why we have the dumbbells and we have the med balls. So a lot of people, if you're unable to get your feet nice and flat right here, and your burpees look more like you're on your toes, okay? Or you're completely straight, that puts a lot of pressure on your low back and on your knees. We don't want to do that. A simple fix and allows you to do the regular burpees is just elevating our upper body. So if you tend to have long legs, this tends to work really well for you. It takes a lot of pressure off your low back. So we're just going to post our upper body with either dumbbells or with a med ball. So with the dumbbells, it's the exact same action. You can do a push-up or no push-up, come down, do your push-up, you're good to go, do your full burpee. Now if you're still struggling to get your feet flat, if you're still on your toes, if your legs are completely straight still, then we're going to progress you to a med ball. So we're going to go from here, we're going to do the med ball, exact same thing. The push-up's kind of hard to do, so you don't have to worry about that. You're just going to go down, back up, and you're able to do your burpees. Now, don't be afraid to modify, and that's the biggest thing. Make sure you're doing things correctly. Injury-free is the name of the game. Next advanced exercise that we tend to do in boot camp a lot is mountain climbers. So they're a very anaerobic exercise, and they're great for torching body fat. But we see them done wrong all the time. And basically, if you can do a regular push-up position perfectly, you're going to be able to do mountain climbers perfectly. So we start in perfect push-up position, so the arms are right underneath the shoulders like normal. From here, we're going to drive our knees to our chest. So this would be a fast mountain climber. Let's start with slow. So slow mountain climbers, let's just go through what we want. We want to drive that knee to the chest. That toe is just above the ground, so it's not even making contact with the ground. So just do it again. So we're driving that knee to the chest and fire backwards. So when we're doing this, you notice he fires back, his back is nice position. We're not firing back and then hyperextending our low back. So that's slow mountain climbers. Fast mountain climbers, it's the exact same action. The toe is just hovering right above the ground. We're not making contact. And the reason why is a lot of people, when they make contact with the ground, they tend to jar their back and slam their toe into the ground, and then we start having back pain. If we just slide that toe across, we have no back pain whatsoever. So perfect push-up position, making that toe just glide right across the top, and you'll be doing perfect mountain climbers. One of the greatest things about working out in a group training environment and having personal trainers show you what you should be doing is that we're able to modify every single exercise for you. So if you have any type of injuries, any problems whatsoever, you need to notify the trainers and let us know that you have an issue. So when you come in, the best thing you can do if you have any type of low back pain, shoulder pain, is let the trainers know. Now we have modifications and you're welcome to modify at any time whatsoever. You don't need our permission. So we're going to go over modifications and you can do these anytime you like. Now what's available for modifications? Any basic exercise that we showed you today, squats, lunges, push-ups, planks are always a great go-to core modification. So if something's bugging you, just go into a plank and you're good to go. But we're going to cover some extra modifications which you can do at any time. We tell our trainers that you're able, as long as you're doing something safely, modify it and we're not going to correct you. So feel free to do it. The first one is just your standard jumping jack. Most people are able to do jumping jacks, so just going into your standard jumping jack. So maybe we have a burpee station or something you're not able to do, but you're able to do jumping jacks, just do your standard jumping jack. Next one would be high knees. So we're just driving those knees to our chest. It's low impact. It's very metabolically taxing if you do it correctly. So you can do high knees. Now one most people have never heard of. It's a full body extension. It's great. It mimics jumping without jumping. So when we jump, we actually want our glutes, push our hips back, hands go back. We're gonna finish on our toes. That would be slow motion. Fast motion, go ahead, show them fast motion. Hips go back, finishing up on those toes. If you do that fast enough, you're gonna be completely out of breath. So don't feel bad about modifying. But what's great about it, it's easy on the low back, it's easy on the knees. So anything burpees, mountain climbers, any type of thing you're not able to do, these are great alternatives for you to be able to do.